Are you a man looking for an intensive program to help you overcome sexually addictive behaviors? Gateway to Freedom is your answer. Gateway to Freedom is a 3-day workshop for men seeking to overcome any destructive sexual habits. Whether married, single, or divorced, Gateway to Freedom will help men regain hope for a new life of purity and real contentment. The workshop is conducted by experts in the field of sexual addiction recovery with decades of combined experience. Read testimonials of workshop alumni at gatewaymen.com. Get all the info and register online at gatewaymen.com or call 1-800-49-PURITY.
Hi, my name is Jonathan, and I'm the founder of the Gateway to Freedom workshop. I want to personally invite you to be part of our next workshop coming up March 18th through the 20th in Oregon. So call us today at 210-822-8201 or visit gatewaymen.com.
Welcome to Pure Sex Radio, training men, educating women. Are you ready to get real and start living each day in purity? This dynamic program is designed to educate, encourage, and equip listeners with the tools necessary for living a life of sexual purity. Pure Sex Radio brings you the best in mobile talk radio. Listen to real-life struggles, learn how to overcome lust, pornography, and sex addiction, and get serious about purity. Your hosts for Pure Sex Radio are Jonathan Doherty and Stephen Cervantes. Jonathan is the director of Be Broken Ministries and founder of the Gateway to Freedom Workshop for Men. Stephen is the founder of the Hope Counseling Center. Visit us online at puresexradio.com. And now, please welcome Jonathan and Stephen on Pure Sex Radio.
Good day, radio listeners. Welcome to this week's edition of the Pure Sex Radio broadcast. We're glad to have you with us. My name is Jonathan. I'm here with Stephen today. How are you, Stephen?
I am a great lover today. I have my Father's heart. We're called to love well. We're made in the image of God. And today you are also recognized as a great lover. And we mean that in the truest sense of the world, not as the culture has abused that term. You are a great lover, and we are about great love stories.
Man, that's great for our regular listeners who are expecting you to say something about I'm doing great or whatever. That was awesome. So, Hey, before we actually dive in, today's topic is going to be really kind of about fathers and sons, and I want to share with you a resource that our director of Pure Community has written along with his son that is a fabulous resource for dads and their boys. It's called Father-Son Accountability. It's by John and Lucas Fort, and you can find it at Amazon or any bookstore, and you could also go to purecommunity.org to order that resource. Again, it's Father-Son Accountability by John and Lucas Fort. Great little book on helping dads and help their sons navigate through the teenage years well in terms of managing sexuality. So, Stephen, we're going to kind of try to peek in on dad and his son as the son maybe grapples with some of the issues he wished that his father had maybe taught him. So why don't you kind of set the stage for where we're going to go this week?
Okay, I'm going to try playing two parts. I'm going to be the son, and then I'm going to be the dad. And the son is asking questions of the dad. And so we're not sure where this is going. But imagine a 30-year-old son coming to his 50-year-old dad and asking these questions. And so the son says, Dad, I wish you would talk to me, Dad, about sexuality and struggles and how confusing and being a man. Dad, I wish you would talk to me about those things. And the father says, I was embarrassed. I didn't do it so good myself. I didn't know when to tell you. I didn't know what to tell you.
And I'm gonna kind of provide some commentary on these statements that Stephen is making between this father and son. And I think one of the things that we need to recognize right off the bat that is so critical, probably more so for dads to communicate, because I think sons struggle with this, is I think more than anything, we need to recognize from the very start that with our sons and with our fathers, we are more alike than we are different. I think sometimes we have this idea, especially when we're a little boy, Dad can never fail. Dad is golden. Dad is, perfect. And I think as fathers, we have a tremendous responsibility to let our children know, especially our sons, but also our daughters, that, man, you know what? We're broken too. We're confused too. We get scared too. We don't always know. We're on a growth journey, but I'm like you, son. I got questions too. I got things that I ask my Heavenly Father of that He hasn't provided all the answers that I would like, but yes. I'm wrestling too.
But Dad, you knew so much more, and you know the path of this journey and the difficulty, and you had secrets, and you knew shame, and other boys told you things. You knew so much, Dad. Well, why didn't we never talk about sexuality? Well, son, nobody talked to me about it. And I had to fumble along and try to figure it out. I don't even know if I have it figured out yet, son. It's still difficult being a man, being a sexual being. Sometimes my mind gets away from me still. Sexuality is hard, son.
Yeah, and so in this regard, dads, we've got to be the ones to break the silence. We can't expect, in this scenario that we're doing here, this is a son that's grown. And he's looking back on his history. So maybe this guy's 30 years old. And guys, dads, we are really doing a disservice to our sons if we're going to wait until they're 30 and drowning and desperate to then start having conversations with them about, and really let them to be the ones to bring up the realities of us not passing along our knowledge to them. And so part of what we got to do, dads, is we have to take the initiative to break the silence. Share your knowledge, even in all of its imperfections and incompletion. Share it. Share what you've gone through at the same age your son is. That can go way farther in developing him than you might imagine.
Hey, Dad, how could you leave me in such ignorance? I felt ignorant about changes in my body and what the other boys were saying and about girls and how I felt. And then I got introduced to magazines and stuff to look at. I felt ignorant. Son, I'm sorry. There is a lot of ignorance about sexuality, even with us grown-ups. It's taken a long time for me to figure out things. And I don't feel that confident. And I feel scared. And what if I say something to you that's too much or you're not ready for? And I didn't know when to say the things, and I didn't know how to say the things, and I knew what I thought, but even as a grown man, I'm not talking to other grown men about understanding male sexuality and the struggles. I'm just living life the best I can.
And so dads, this is a calling out to us. We can't lead our sons where we are unwilling to go ourselves. And this is one of the reasons why I think so many young boys remain in ignorance regarding healthy sexuality and what is good and right, is because dads are not on that journey themselves. And so dads, we have to step up and get on that journey ourselves. If we are not living, striving for sexual integrity, we have no voice for expecting that in our sons. I also think on this point, it's really important that you share what you do know. So share what you know and how it can apply to your son, whatever age he is. But then I think here's the key. Explore together what you don't know. Dads, be willing to say, man, I don't know about some of the things that are going on with technology right now and how to protect it. But you know what? Let's go find out together. Let's figure out ways that we can grow together. Because remember, we're more alike than we are different. We may be older, and further down the road. But we need to both have the mindset that we're on a growth journey, and model for your son what it is to grow by exploring together the growth tools that you need to implement.
Dad, do you know that the other boys are the ones that told me about sexuality? They didn't know. Some of the stuff they said they made up. Some of the stuff they talked about I had no idea, but I laughed and played along. Dad, the other boys taught me about male sexuality, not you. Son, I'm a man now. And I got here fumbling along and stumbling along. And I'm sorry that that's where your education came from. I wish I could say something strong and powerful. But when you say the other boys taught you, you know that's how I learned too, from other boys. My father couldn't tell me anything. He was scared and ignorant himself. And I guess you're making me see the weakness in my own thinking, that not just talking to my own son about this, it's hard to hear right now.
So, dads, being a dad is a journey of courage, okay? And we're not gonna make that smaller than what it is. It takes a lot of courage to be a dad, and one of the things that you got to be courageous about is when you blow it, when you have not done what you need to do in training up your son, you need to step forward and seek forgiveness. We need to be willing to swallow our pride and say, son, I was wrong. I needed to share some stuff with you that I didn't share with you. And I need to seek your forgiveness for that. Will you forgive me for failing you in that way? Also, I think part of this courage is that we need to think in terms of protecting our son. You know, when he's getting bad information from these friends, we need to be the ones that step in and provide correction and provide that protection that he needs so that he knows what is the truth, what is right, what is good, so that when those things are going on, he knows where those boundaries are. He knows what is, what is false and bad information versus what is good. Plus, it actually empowers him to now be a voice, to be salt and light in his school, to be salt and light with his friends, instead of feeling like he's just being tossed around by every little whim that they might have.
Hey, Dad, I did learn a lot, but I have to tell you, in this learning, I sort of felt dirty, and I felt shameful. I had secrets. Am I bad, Dad? Am I bad? Oh, no, son. No. You're not bad. Yeah, you picked up some stuff, but it's not your definition. It's not really who you are. And I wish I'd said that. You're going to stumble into dirty stuff, shameful stuff, secret stuff, but that's not who you are. You'll wade through that, but don't take it on as your identity. I'm sorry that you've been carrying that stuff around and thinking you're bad.
You know, one of the ways that we are going to exhibit our Heavenly Father to our sons is to extend to them the same grace that has been extended to us. That the Bible teaches us that while we were still sinners, God put in place a reconciliation plan. He didn't wait for us to get cleaned up. He didn't wait for us to figure out how to deal with all of our shame lies. He didn't wait for us to come out of the dark. He didn't wait for us to confess. He said, I'm already putting into motion the plan that I have for you, and that is Jesus going to the cross. And so we need to be able to express that to our kids, that when they fail, when they tuck away another secret, when they lie to us, when they don't share something with us, when they are drowning in that shame, that we call them out with grace. We call them out with the gospel, and we share with them our own engagement with that same gospel, that we share them with them our own connection with that grace, and say, can I share with you how the grace of God has broken through in my life, how it's reframed how I see myself, that it's how it's helped me deal with shame lies. Now, guys, this is obviously assuming that you're on a journey, that you're on that journey with the gospel, that you're on that journey of connecting with the grace of God in that way. And so I strongly encourage you to do that. But to teach our kids how to confess, to teach them how to engage the grace of God in the gospel will break those shame lies. It will start to draw them out into the light and give you a great connection with them that goes very deep.
Hey, Dad, I needed you to lead me. I needed you, Dad, to tell me things. I need you to talk to me more. I need you to help me, Dad. I needed you to be out in front of me. I got busy, son, with life and working and the house and the yard and your mother. And we had those old cars. They always needed something done to them. I got caught up. There were things to do in life. I had to do those things.
You know, if we don't see our kids as a priority, or I should put it this way, if your kids truly are a priority, then you will prioritize them. If your son is a priority, if you training your son into manhood is a priority, then you will prioritize him. And I want to share with you how I've done that with my own son. I don't leave it to chance. I don't leave it to a feeling. I don't leave it to circumstances working out just right for me to have very intentional meetings with my son. I call them man meetings. And I have very intentional scheduling of these meetings. And you know what the purpose of these meetings are? It's for me and my son to connect. Yeah, there's a little bit of, an agenda we kind of have as far as doing some check-in stuff and working through trying to teach him some practical things. But it's really about talking to my son and letting him talk to me. But you know what I think it does on a more fundamental level, and this is what we need to do with our sons. It shows him that he's a priority because he is literally on my calendar. It's not just, hey, as I get to it, as I kind of have time, and maybe if season of life and schedule works out, then I'll, seek these moments with my kid. No, you got to be intentional. You've got to seek out and schedule times to connect and invest in your son so you can help him, you can talk to him, you can lead him into manhood.
Hey, Dad, what'd you learn growing up yourself through the process? You're older than I am. You know more. What helped you, Dad? Dad, I needed to hear your stories, Dad. Your failures, your successes, winning and losing, battling on, fighting. How come you didn't tell me stories, Dad? I needed to hear your stories. They would have helped me so much. Son, talking is hard. I just don't talk much. My father never talked much. I'm not good at talking. I think a lot. I think about saying things, but just talking is hard.
I won't even pretend to say that I'm an expert in the area of talking. It may sound kind of funny considering I'm here talking on a radio program and you kind of have to talk in order to do that. But the kind of talking we're describing here is, quite frankly, difficult. It's hard. Guys, this is why I think being a dad is a journey of courage. You gotta reach down into those places where your fear is wanting to tell you to pull back and to hide and to be passive, and you got to just strangle that and just rise up with courage and say, there are certain things that I need to do. As far as talking, sharing stories, those kind of things. I love the idea here of the son wanting to hear stories. Guys, if you don't know what to talk about, tell your son your life. Share your stories with him. Everything doesn't have to be some deep spiritual insight. Tell him about the time that you popped the hubcaps off of one of your dad's trucks because you were flying over some railroad tracks. That didn't actually happen in my life. You're wondering. Just share stories with him, because what that's doing is it's building a bond. It's building a connection. He's able to say, that's my dad, and don't be afraid to share failures too. The times that you blew it. I like to think of it this way. Share stories of then and now. So let's say you've got a son that's 10 years old. You know what? Share with him your stories of when you were 10. All of them. The good, the bad, the ugly. Just share with him those stories of when you were 10 so he can identify with his dad as if you were 10. But then also share with him your stories now. How do you engage life now? And he sees the difference then between 10-year-old dad and adult dad. And so he can start to have something to aspire to. So just be courageous. Talk to your son. Share your stories with him.
Dad, I needed you to teach me how to be a man. Mom couldn't help me with that. Mom tried and she talked. But I needed you. I heard about this statement one time. A speaker made this comment. He said, celebrate manhood. I didn't know what that meant. And I hoped you would teach me how to be a man and celebrate manhood. Wow, that sounds strong and powerful. So whoever that speaker was, celebrate manhood. But those are words, and I can tell you where I am. I don't know exactly about every other man. I hope that's enough. And I hope I blessed you and helped you. And I hope I can be some example of a man to you.
Dads, I think one of the things that is being lost in our culture is the sense of masculinity as a good thing. And I think we need to recapture that, not in a militant, belligerent kind of way, but in a way that says, no, masculinity is good. Being a man is good. Same is true with being a woman. Femininity is good too, but we're losing the sense of the masculine being seen as good, and we need to teach that into our boys. I had a friend of mine who there was a certain night of the week that the mom would be out of the house, the other two sisters were grown, and they would have man night. And you know what that meant? That meant they ate junk food and watched action movies with their shirts off. Man,
that is good.
And so
it makes me want to pound my chest.
Yeah, and I think those are the kind of things we need to engage with our sons. Let's celebrate masculinity. One of the other things that I think is part of that is one of the check-in questions that I have with my son in our man meeting is I said, we'll ask each other, where have you offered your strength? Because see, God has called us to be strong,
yes,
and courageous. And so I think as men, we need to be looking for opportunities where have you offered your strength? Where have you offered your strength physically? Did you help somebody, carry their groceries? Where did you offer your strength emotionally? Where have you offered your strength spiritually? Where have you offered your strength mentally? What have you offered of yourself to build others up? And I think that's very much part of the masculine characteristic, and we need to teach that and instill that in our boys.
That's good. Hey, Dad, I'm going to tell you something. Your silence, it really impacted me. It screamed at me, your silence. And you know what it said to me? It said, you better hide. Don't talk. Don't ask me questions. Figure it out on your own, son. Dad, your silence really hurt me. It screamed at me to go away. Just go away and figure it out on my own. I was a boy, Dad. I was a boy. And your silence wounded me. Son, there was a lot of talking going on. Maybe it wasn't the right kind of talking. But we were doing things and living life. And I don't know what you mean by being silent. I talked to everybody. And I told people what to do, We got stuff done, and we lived a life. I'm sorry. I don't clearly understand what you're saying about my silence. I never meant to hurt you.
And you know what I hear in this one, dads, and it's one that I think sometimes we don't recognize as easily as some of the other ways that maybe we can wound our sons, is really, I think, what's underneath this particular scene is passivity. I think it goes all the way back to Adam in the garden. I believe certainly the original sin, part of it was pride. I think what was underneath the pride was passivity. Because he did not step in. He did not step in when the serpent is deceiving his wife. And guys, we've been doing that ever since. We step back, we say, hey, Mom, you raise the kids. You deal with all of that. And what ends up happening is our children, sons especially, they see a dad in the shadows. They see a dad who, when he comes out of the shadow, he's telling everybody what to do, and he's got demands, and he's working hard, and he's bringing money home. But then he steps back into the shadows, and he's passive when it comes to my development as a young man, young boy growing into a man. And so I want you, men out there, I want you to have these 3 words in your mind. I'd love for you to even say them out loud. I reject passivity.
I reject passivity.
Yeah, just go ahead and say it. I reject passivity.
I reject passivity.
Let that become, every time you see your son, every time you have that feel, that tug to go into the shadows, just say, I reject passivity. I'm going to step out of the shadows. I'm going to be a man who is actively pursuing and investing in my son.
So, Dad, I have to tell you this, and this is the reason we're having this conversation. I'm 30 years old. You're 50 years old. And I have to confess to you that I've been caught up in fantasy and escaping and porn. And I can't keep it a secret anymore. It's killing me. It's hurt my wife. The kids have suffered. I've wasted energy. And I have to say it to somebody that knows me and that's been on this journey with me. I have to confess this. I've been living a double life of fantasy. It takes strength to come and talk to me. It's hard to hear this. You're my boy. You're my son. I have to take some ownership in this. I saw you off to yourself some. I didn't understand why you were quiet some. I didn't know what was going on. But today things change. They don't have to be the same anymore. You can tell me these things now. I can hear them now. And I hear this confession, desire to open up. And it calls me to accountability too. And I'll do better. I'll do better.
You know, this revisits what we started this broadcast with, and that is that we are more alike than we are different. And we need to be willing to step into the brokenness of our sons and be able to admit our own brokenness. And, you know, the response that I think is a good one in this particular scene would be to say, you know what, let's grow together as men of integrity. Let's go on a journey together. Let's inspire one another. Let's pick each other up. Let's be men together. And so while you're never going to stop being, you know, your son's father, I do think the dynamic of the relationship can grow as he grows. And the type of accountability you can have will become richer, and it will become almost to a point where it's almost as if you're friends more than your father and son. Which, let me just reiterate, the father-son accountability book here, I think could be a great tool for helping you, especially with this issue of dealing with the sexual brokenness aspect and helping your son grow in purity. That would be a great resource. And we've got to wrap up right now. But if you would like more help along this journey with helping your son grow into manhood well, please contact us, and we'll see you back here again next week on the Pure Sex Radio broadcast.
Pure Sex Radio is paid for by Be Broken Ministries. Visit us online at puresexradio.com.